This is the Surly Grognards for December 7th, 2015. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing all right.
Most excellent, most excellent. Oh, God. Have I mentioned that I always find it a little bit tricky to say Eric Carlson without slurring the Eric at the end because of the C followed by C thing?
I do the same thing.
It's really weird. I was like, I've noticed that recently. Like, okay, I gotta force myself to pause between saying them, otherwise I will drop off the last C. The C in Eric. It's like Eric Carlson. It's like, oh God.
Yeah, no, I trust me, dude. Like 36 years, yeah, I still do it sometimes.
Oh God. So, so we don't have a specific topic again this week. Mostly because my plan was to think of something up this weekend, and I kind of forgot.
Yeah. No, it's probably a good thing we didn't game this weekend, because my ear's been going fucking nuts for the past week.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so my head was a little unhappy with me Saturday, but goddammit, I wanted to be a pig monster, so I was going to power through.
Yeah, you're going to soldier through. I totally get that. But yeah, I overslept, and Skitch had to go early, and Alice was
dying of something. Yeah.
So yeah, but we don't have a specific topic for this week. But there are a few things that have come up I've seen over the past week in our usual purview of topics that we tend to cover in the show.
Right.
One of which I want to mention, since I was mentioning before we started recording that I've recently been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic again. Largely due to the fact that one of my viewers on my stream mentioned that they'd made some changes that might make it more palatable for me, since I had certain complaints. And I still do. They still really don't seem to like non-subscribers.
Yeah.
They still have a lot of really silly things behind paywalls. And I'm not sure if they still have according to their website, they still have the non-subscribers earn less experience than subscribers and don't get rested XP. But it seems like they've increased the pacing of leveling for everybody. So the other thing they did, which is interesting, is that when you hit the max level for a planet, it artificially de-levels you to the max level for the planet.
Oh, okay.
So the missions don't go gray and earn you no XP. Or become untakeable or anything like that.
Oh, you don't even earn XP?
No, I think you still earn XP. You earn XP as if it was like a low-level quest for you, but it's still like an actual quest.
Okay, so there's still a challenge to it, is what you're saying. Well, as much as one is, and yeah.
Yeah, they've also beefed up the companions a bit. They actually apparently nerfed them at some point because they were apparently... What someone's saying in chat, they nerfed them partially because people were complaining that in the PvP zone, like in certain like PvP areas, like in duels and stuff, and various other things, apparently the companions set... Because one thing they changed is that any of your companions can be set to any one of the three roles, DPS, tank, or healer.
Right.
And apparently the ones set on healer were so good at healing that it was almost impossible to actually PvP in the areas where you could do a sort of open PvP. I guess someone who had their companion out in healer mode without having to kill the companion first.
Right.
And even then it was hard because they heal themselves. So apparently they fixed that somehow. I don't know what the actual nerf they did to do that was. But apparently it's not like a significant change. And so basic leveling, I mean, especially if you've got a companion up, set on healer and you're doing DPS. Well, imagine if you've got your companion either on tank or DPS and you're healing them, it probably would work equally well. That would be my guess. And I'll find that out eventually. But I've been going around with the healer companion, and it's a lot faster and easier to level, and like doing the heroics is
doable.
It's very doable with just your companion. It was always sort of doable with just your companion on some of them, especially if you overleveled it a little bit.
Particularly if you're doing the a tank with a healer pet.
Right. Companion, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure if it's almost too easy to do the base content. But the story's good enough in general that I don't care. It feels less like I'm sort of locked into... If honestly, the feel I've gotten so far has been, it feels more like a somewhat easy, but sort of normal, sort of BioWare RPG, as opposed to...
Yeah, and
the MMO elements...
that's the reason why you play a BioWare game, is that they're really good at their storytelling.
Yeah, well, they're good at their story. I wouldn't so say really good. They can be really good. They occasionally...
They can be really good.
They flub some things.
Until some sort of, like, ethereal manifestation of the eldritch synthoids from beyond the stars comes and explains their entire plot and reasoning towards you with a thesis that can be distributed with evidence out the fucking window. No, I don't forgive you, Mass Effect 3. You broke my heart.
Well, they're not very good at bad guys and running their main bad guys in general.
The Reapers are great up until that fucking moment.
Yeah, I mean, but like a lot, like the bad guys in the Dragon Age games aren't very compelling for the most part. Like, okay,
yeah, I
like,
mean
take Origins for instance. The Darkspawn are
they're a tornado. They're a storm.
They're a force of nature, exactly.
Exactly.
And Loghain is not very compelling and is kind of dumb.
I don't know. Loghain, I feel like if we had more time with Loghain, it would make more sense, because I could totally the interpretation I have of him is a guy who never quite got over the horrors of the last war and is allowed his fears and paranoia regarding it to consume him, and then someone is manipulating him using those fears, which was How.
I guess, but
and I think that we would have gotten more of that if we had spent more time with him.
Maybe, I don't know. He just it's a lot of his abilities seem to be more informed than demonstrated.
Yes,
his strategic / tactical genius is definitively an informed trait, not a demonstrated one.
Right, and again, that's something else that if we had gotten more time with him, we probably would have seen demonstrated.
I'm not convinced. I'm not sure that's hard. The problem is that's hard to write.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm not sure. And honestly, he just comes across as someone. With the game as it stands, he comes across as someone who's way in over his head. And it makes it sort of hard to find him as Hal is a more compelling villain, and he has like almost no screen time unless you're a human noble.
Yeah, that's true.
And even then, he doesn't get a lot of screen time.
And to be fair, I never really played a human noble, so I was like, who the fuck is this guy, and why does he hate me so much?
Yeah.
At least the first couple times I played through it, and then someone explained it to me. It's like, oh, that makes sense.
Should have explained that in something other than the fucking human noble origin.
Yeah, no shit.
But
he's just in Loghain's cutscenes and is clearly playing like the evil vizier. So
yeah, it's unfortunate. But as I said, Dragon Age. I still like Dragon Age Origins. It's one of my favorite BioWare games, despite its very obvious flaws.
Yeah, I think Corypheus from Inquisition tries really hard.
Yeah, I've not played Inquisition because
the problem with Corypheus is, again, you don't spend enough time with him, but you see a lot of the effects of the shit he's pulling.
Sure.
And then the end fight with him is just weirdly anticlimactic. Which is weird, because, there's a giant rent in the sky, and there's, like, horrible monstrosities, like, coming in from the fade, and the ground you're on is floating in the sky, and there's a giant demon dragon, and somehow it just doesn't feel all that epic or climactic.
That takes some doing.
Yes.
How do you do that? No, seriously, how do you do that? I'm actually genuinely curious how you managed to pull that. It's like
it might just be me, but it just felt kind of anticlimactic. I didn't have the like, holy shit, what's going? The holy shit. I gotta Holy shit! Fighting by like getting by with the like teeth, skin of my teeth, like clawing victory from the jaws of defeat feeling that I got in Origins or any of the Mass Effects.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to
So
discuss the ending of Mass Effect of Dragon Age 2, which was fucking stupid.
even that felt a that was really Jesus Christ! I forgot how stupid that was. Thank you. Okay, that one I felt like epic and getting by the skin of your teeth, but it was simply because it was so bad, and me as a player surviving it.
Yeah, yes, like because that one had me literally face palming during parts of it. You know.
Okay,
Ugh.
awesome, Mister Archmage guy. We've got them. Like we've got like a great defensible position here. We've got them in a great bottleneck. We've shown that we can handle these guys one-on-one, and they can't come in at more than 4 abreast. We got this. It's handled.
Must go blood magic, demon form,
No,
Rarg!
it's over. It's the end of everything. No, it's not, dude. We got this. They have a finite amount of people, and we've got resources up the balls here. No, I must turn towards the forbidden arts. Why would you do that? We've got this covered. They either have to retreat, in which case they pursue them back to their stronghold, or they throw themselves into a tide of butchery.
Yeah,
Nope, I'm becoming a giant flesh monster.
yeah. Well, I will say, as has been pointed out by our mutual friend Chris, if you read all the lore books, it explains sort of what's going on in Kirkwall.
Yeah. Here's the problem, though. Like, that I shouldn't have to get the story.
No, I agree completely.
Books.
I agree completely. They should tell you this fucking shit. They should tell you that the entire city is a fucking summoning circle.
They're.
And that they stuck the mages in the dead center of the circle, so of course they're going insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that between Anders and Varric, the two of them should have been able to piece together and tell you.
Yeah, it's like, but that would involve making Anders something other than a one-note terrorist awfulness.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Anders. I wanted to like him.
From what I understand,
I agree with his sentiment.
From what I understand, he's actually really cool in Dragon Age Awakening, but I've not played
Yeah.
it, so I can't comment on that.
He's actually pretty cool in Awakenings, but yeah, like he's such a letdown in Dragon Age 2. And here's the thing, Varric's the standout guy in Dragon Age 2. Like he's like
sure.
He's your boy. He's the guy. The thing is, it's only because of the weakness of all the other companions.
Yeah,
Because he's in Inquisition, and he totally fades in the background next to the guys like Cassandra or fucking Iron Bull, the giant ball of hilarity.
yeah. The companions are definitely the weakest part. One of the weakest parts of 2. I mean, there are a couple ones I like. I like Varric. I like Aveline. She's not like amazing, but I like her. She's a good, solid character.
And I know I'm terrible, but I kind of liked Meryl.
The thing is, I
She's
like
so
Meryl.
adorkable and like cutely awkward, and so very stupid.
I'd call her dumber than a sack of hammers, but that'd be insulting to the sack of hammers.
Just not so much stupid as stubbornly naive.
About really stupid things.
Yes.
But at any rate, BioWare hasn't really Beck in the chat mentions that Saren's the last really good villain that BioWare had. I'd agree with that. Saren was great.
I don't know. Harbinger wasn't bad. Partially because Saren and his and Sovereign, like Saren and Sovereign are great because you were just this sort of minor irritant that kept on like managing to get under the skin, but with Harbinger from 2, like he clearly took shit personally. Mm-hmm. Like he might be an eldritch, ageless monstrosity from beyond the rim of the galaxy, but you killed his friend and he's pissed. So he still has that sort of like great old one feel, but it's like It's like when Cthulhu's eyes sort of swivels over through the crowd and focuses on you. It's very much the feeling I got from Harbinger.
All right. But yeah, like the Dragon. Also, Beck also mentioned that the Baldur's Gate 2 the Baldur's Gate villains are generally pretty good, and especially the ones in 2. I do agree with that. It doesn't hurt that I can't remember the guy's name, but the main villain from 2, who's voiced by David Warner. So that just like gives it a major plus in my book because David Warner is awesome.
I don't think I played Baldur's Gate 2. Probably should have.
Baldur's Gate 2 it has a lot of really good things about it, but is hampered by the fact that it's second edition AD&D.
That's why I didn't play Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, it works. Second edition works better in the computer game than it does in the tabletop, in my opinion. But
I can buy that. I totally buy that.
But yeah, anyways. But yeah, it's Irenicus. Thank you, Hypnofun. Yeah, they built him up. He had a good payoff. He was well done. He was a good, well done villain. There's some really good storytelling and good stuff in Baldur's Gate 2, and some really wonderfully funny moments. It's a little clunky to play because it's the old Baldur's Gate engine upticked a little bit, and you're saddled with second edition AD&D. It's a good game, but it's overall a good game in my opinion. It's certainly better than Baldur's Gate 1, which has some issues. But part of the reason I mentioned, I brought up SWTOR, honestly, is the fact that, as everyone is fairly certain if you're listening to us live or shortly after I upload the recording, the new Star Wars film is coming out very soon.
Yes.
In, like, next week at some point, I believe.
No, it can't be, because that means Christmas is closer, and I refuse to acknowledge that Christmas exists or is close.
Okay, sure. Star Wars is coming up next week, though. Sorry, Eric.
God damn it.
But that means Star Wars is coming up next week.
That is true. I'll probably, wait to see it till after the fervor dies down.
That's my plan also.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently, so one of the things I mentioned and one of the things I noticed, apparently a bunch of fans have gone through a whole bunch of sort of, information they found on the net on stuff from the trailers and from some various bits of leaked stuff and such, and basically put together sort of an informed theorized spoiler for the movie.
Okay.
And I've seen it linked on Twitter. I actually read through it because it's not certain how accurate all of it's going to be, although I'm willing to bet a good chunk of it is accurate. And B, I don't mind spoilers that much for things that aren't mysteries. Like for a non-mystery
I
story,
can probably call it right now if I wanted to, just from watching the trailers a few times.
Yep.
Not going to on the stream, but
and you shouldn't. Because honestly, if you want to seek out a spoiler on your own, that's one thing. Having someone do it to you without actually, your permission.
Yeah.
Because for some people it matters more than others, and that's fine.
Yeah. And I don't really mind
preferences.
spoilers, because for me it's always about the journey to get there.
Right.
Although there are some stories that really are better spoiler free, but Star Wars isn't one of them. Come on, guys.
Star Wars had one big reveal that was a shocker, and even then it's that's Empire Strikes Back. And
yeah.
The big reveal about Vader.
Yeah.
And it's that Vader is Luke's father. If you're spoiled by that, I'm sorry. That movie is...
Jesus Christ, were you living under a rock to be spoiled by that? Have you not been a part of pop culture for the past 30 fucking years?
Yes. That movie came out in 1981. Come on. If you haven't seen the movies, you probably know the line.
You know that. You absolutely knew that.
You know the quoted line. The misquoted line, usually.
Yes.
But because he doesn't say, Luke, I am your father. It's just, I am your father. Oh, God. But I read through it, and if even 75% of the spoilers are accurate, it looks solid from what it's written. This does not mean that it can't fall down.
Yeah, and here's the thing. J.J. Abrams likes to play at having like the big mystery box. Ooh, is it the thing you think it is? Of course, it's the thing you think it is. Because JJ, as much as you play this game, you're really bad at it.
Also, he didn't write this; he's just directing it.
Okay, fair enough. But like, Benedict Cumberbatch is a new villain. Ooh, he's Khan, isn't he? Nuh-uh, he's totally Khan. No, he's not Khan. He's Khan. Okay, he's Khan. Aren't you surprised? No, he's figured it out months ago.
He might have been. I think he might have been involved in the writing. But they brought. Oh God, I can't remember the guy's name. But they brought in.
It was the guy who did Empire, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the writers on Empire.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. That guy knows his shit.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful, and from what I've read, but the thing is that if you like look at a sort of bare bones plot synopsis of the Phantom Menace, it's not that bad a movie. It doesn't look like it's as bad a movie as it is.
Well, the Phantom Menace is largely a great example of what not to do when telling a story.
The thing is that there are the basic framework of the plot of the Phantom Menace is not disastrous, other than the fact that a lot of what important happens off screen.
Which is again a fault with direction and
it's part of
the actual like details and gristle of
right. Exactly, it's a problem with the writing, the actual writing. The actual but the actual framework's not bad.
Yeah,
but it falls down badly on the dialogue, the pacing, the directing, and the editing. So it falls down in most ways.
Yeah, and the fact that it has no fucking protagonist. It really doesn't. Like seriously. I mean, for those who haven't seen it, Red Letter Media's 2-hour-long review of the Phantom Menace.
So almost as long as the movie.
Yeah,
I think the movie's just over 2 hours.
Vastly more entertaining.
Yeah, well,
and they make a really great point. The movie has no protagonist because no one goes through a character arc in it. There is no. Doesn't stick with any one character long enough. Yeah, there's no protagonist in the movie.
And if they'd done a good job making it into an ensemble cast, that would have worked. That could have worked.
Yeah, sure.
But they didn't. They clearly want Obi-Wan to be the protagonist. It's like abundantly clear.
Yeah, and this is just me. Was Qui-Gon Jinn like the worst fucking Jedi?
He's a pretty bad Jedi.
Like he's a villain, is what he is.
I will go. No, he's not that. He's not a villain. He's not competent enough to be a villain. He doesn't mean harm in any way, shape, or form. He's goalless.
He cheats Watto out of his property. Now, granted, it's a slave, so I'm willing to.
That one I don't.
Yeah,
doesn't.
I'm not so bad on that, but he still cheats. He still uses mind control on everyone he fucking meets.
Oh, he's basically he wants to be a chaotic good character in D&D terms.
Sure, but he ends up coming across as much more chaotic neutral, maybe neutral evil.
I mean, yeah, Gavin,
because everything he does is clearly for his own gain.
Yeah,
he wants to train Anakin because he buys the bullshit prophecy and yeah.
One of Gav in the chat mentions there's a theory going around that he was secretly a Sith and didn't reveal himself. I wouldn't go that far, but I can see where one would come up with that.
Yeah, because for all of Qui-Gon's sins, he doesn't actually break the Jedi code. He's just has a pretty shitty interpretation of it.
Well, so do the Jedi, though. I mean,
yeah. Well,
I was actually talking about this when I was playing Star Wars: Old Republic actually earlier today. It's really interesting looking at the Sith and Jedi codes, which I think are never actually mentioned on screen in any of the films or in the shows.
Right.
I think it might have been documented in one of the novelizations, but it might have only been documented, quote, officially in the EU stuff. I'm not sure about that. But it's really interesting looking at both the Jedi and the Sith and how badly both of them completely misunderstand their own codes.
Oh yeah. Oh totally. Like the Sith code sounds pretty damn good on paper.
You look at it, you go, wow, you can totally be chaotic good with that. Like no sweat.
The Sith code is totally one about like self-actualization and self-empowerment. It's just that they take it to the most like law of the jungle Randian extreme,
Right, and they
and
focus
then throw in a big happing helping of sadomasochism.
right. Well, part of it is they focus on exactly one passion.
Yes, being hate.
And anger. It's like and rage. It's like okay, and the
Yes,
Jedi.
those are great fuel for like throwing lightning and like choking people. That's great, but there's a lot more to passion than just those things.
Right, and then you look at the Jedi code, and it's basically the Buddhist code.
Yeah.
And Buddhists they're
Buddhists
terrible
are gonna have
Buddhists.
fun.
They're terrible Buddhists. How do you fuck that up? Oh, you're the Jedi. Okay, fine. Because they're afraid of the dark side. It's like
Yeah, because the Jedi are very much ruled by fear, which is the thing that they're supposed to not be ruled by. It's like the fucking Green Lantern Corps, and let's stick parallax inside the power core. That can't go wrong. Fucking Guardians.
But yeah, that's the thing, is you look at the two codes and you're like, wow. I mean, they're very different. But it's really interesting because it's taken it's taken sort of almost a very sort of an Eastern sort of philosophy of of power and where you get things. If you look at a lot of anime and such, a great example is actually.
Goku totally follows the Sith code. Are you kidding?
Well, yeah, but things like
and he's also Japanese Superman, so.
right? Well, hell, Superman is doesn't I mean, Superman, actually, there are a bunch of Western superheroes who would probably be classified as Sith, and they're actually good guys. But the thing is, what I'm sort of going at is
And a bunch of villains that follow the Jedi code are definitely bad guys. Looking at you, Mandarin.
Yeah, yeah. But I was going to and a great example of what I'm talking about is the Slayers, and Lena Inverse. She draws her power, her magic, from the Mazuku, who are the embodiment of evil. And she's effectively chaotic good. I mean, she has lapses into other stuff, but deep at her heart, she's a good person, and she does good things, and does sort of, and is a big damn hero.
Yeah, and she makes the right decision even when it's the hard choice.
Especially on the big things.
Yes, especially on the big things.
On the smaller things...
And yeah, so she blows up the occasional village on the Fifth Peak, whatever.
But that's usually played... That's only when it's being played for comedy.
Yes.
But that's my point, is that in a lot of anime, for example, the source of your power doesn't inherently mean you're... if you're drawing power from sort of the dark sort of elements of, human psyche, it doesn't make you evil, inherently. It can be a temptation, it can be a problem, but it doesn't inherently do that. And this is not all anime, but there's a certain subsect of that.
Well, it's like back in the old Star City campaign with Dr. Arcane. I had I don't know if I'd ever explained this to you, but I had figured out all the different schools of magic and the Doc's thoughts on them.
Sure.
And when it comes to infernalism, the Doc basically came to the conclusion that infernal magic is a really difficult fuel source to tap into without some sort of patron steeped in it. The problem is that means going to a demon or devil or something, and they're going to put psychological riders on the power. So that's why you don't do infernalism, not because the power is inherently corrupting, but because the patron that you need to channel it from is corrupting.
Right. Sure. I like that. That's great. But yeah, so you've got that, and you've got and so you've got these, and as I said, the Jedi Code is basically Buddhism. I mean, with a bit of Taoism thrown on top.
To really, really water it down.
Oh, really, really? It's not really Buddhism. I mean, Buddhism is much more nuanced and well thought out,
like any other thing.
But at a very basic sort of core. But it's been taken over to sort of Western fantasy, and effectively, Star Wars is no small part of fantasy story, and this sort of dichotomy has been cast into sort of the classic good versus evil, very sort of clear delineated good versus evil storytelling from Western stories, which I think is really interesting, and you can do some really cool stuff with that. And thinking about it, I kind of like how both the Jedi and Sith have completely misinterpreted their own teachings.
Yes.
And that's actually really cool. And you can lead to some interesting stuff. And pure concept of the Grey Jedi is interesting. It's just very rarely executed well. Like, outside of Jolie Bindo, it's not really executed well. Jolie Bindo is awesome, though. And probably one of my favorite things about Knights of the Old Republic. I love that game. And I love Jolie. He's fantastic.
I don't know. I'll give Ashoka Tano some credit for being a good Jedi.
Oh, sure.
Partially because she rejects the Jedi and leaves them for being fuckwits.
Sure, I'm not dissing on Ashoka. I'm saying specifically Jolie is a great example of a great Jedi. I've not seen many others. Ashoka, I guess, yeah, would kind of count. I've not seen enough. I've not seen all of Clone Wars or Rebels yet, so...
Yeah, Ashoka is a character that really surprised me in that I fucking hated her guts at first, but she quickly grew on me like a fungus.
Well, she had character development.
Yeah.
She starts out as a kid and actually grows up.
Yes.
Unlike Anakin, who starts out as a kid and never grows up.
And that's something they do a really good job of showing in that show. Is
in Clone Wars,
much
yes.
better than in the fucking movie.
They actually show
Anakin's... For all of Anakin's pretensions to adulthood and wisdom, he's very much still views the world in a very basic childlike way.
Yep.
And that's how Sidious gets his hooks. How Palpatine gets his hooks into him.
Sidious, but yes, Palpatine. Yeah, either or. Call him whichever you want. I actually prefer calling him Palpatine.
Yeah, and it's a shame Revenge of the Sith totally glosses over that. But
there's a reason I'm less impressed with Revenge of the Sith than a lot of people I knew at the time.
It's easily the best prequel, and it's only a little bit worse than Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I'd agree with. It's noticeably worse than Return of the Jedi in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's worse than Return of the Jedi, but it's better than.
It's better than Phantom Menace, and it's better
better than the Phantom Menace, and
it's better than half of Attack of the Clones. I still claim Attack of the Clones has about half of that movie is actually good. The other half is dreadful.
Attack the Clones, I don't know, dude. Like, I think you're giving it too much credit, because the whole mystery with like the clone army and Obi-Wan investigating and stuff, I think it adds up to more like a quarter of the movie.
Oh no, but
it's still only okay.
It's not just that. You're also you're forgetting all the stuff with the Palpatine scheming and watching him play both sides against basically setting up so no matter which side wins, he wins.
Yeah, the classic Xanatos Gambit.
There's a lot of small stuff that if you add it up along with the Obi-Wan stuff adds up to about half the movie. The problem is that all the little bits of good stuff that are scattered amongst the other half, amongst the bits that aren't Obi-Wan's investigations and all the Obi-Wan stuff, is so overshadowed by all the rest of the Drek in there. And there's a lot of stuff in there that should be good that isn't.
Hayden Christensen and here's the thing, Hayden Christensen, I've seen him in other stuff. He's a perfectly adequate actor.
He's not great, but he's solid.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Natalie Portman fucking kicks ass.
She's been very good in a lot of other stuff.
Like her whole career up until that fucking movie.
But they have like no on-screen chemistry. That may not be entirely their fault. That could just be Lucas.
Yeah,
being not a very good director.
Because you look at fucking Samuel L. Jackson. That man is a big ball of charisma who knocks it out of the park every time he goes on screen, even for the worst fucking movies.
Yep.
Big Blue Sea, terrible movie about hyper-intelligent sharks. Reason to watch it, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. Oh no, Sam Jackson's a lot of fun, and he's got bits of fun in the Star Wars movies. They're just a bit few and far between. There's
this fight with Django, which is hilarious, only because of this one scene. I think I'm convinced I'm the only person that caught. Django gets trampled by one of the Gribblies early on in the fight, and you see sparks fly off his jetpack. So he's doing the whole fall back shooting at Mace Windu. Mace Windu is advancing, doing the whole saber thing, and then you see Django do something with his arm, and then immediately looks back at his jetpack, which didn't go off. And then there's a smile on Jackson's face, and he closes and takes his head.
That's good. I like that. I did miss that. You're right. But yeah, that's one of my absolute favorite things from Clone Wars is Jango's fight with Obi-Wan, where Jango realizes I have no hope here. My entire plan is I'm running away. I'm buying time to get away. So yeah, I think the really interesting thing is you look through the movie, like looking through this is there's a lot of things you can read into stuff that contradicts a lot of what's said on screen in the prequels. Right. But I think that, and part of the reason that Star Wars is actually an interesting world to actually do tabletop role-playing games in.
Oh yeah, I think Star Wars is a great world to play in.
You can do a lot of interesting stuff. And if you tone down Force users so that they're acceptable in a tabletop game,
or just have everyone be Force users,
or you find ways to make it just so that everyone has stuff to be equally badass,
right,
in their own ways. Like, I don't know, use a system somewhat akin to Feng Shui, where you can have.
Oh yeah. I will say, like, when I'm playing the Iron Kingdoms Unleashed game. Like, my turns take so long during combat, and I feel like I'm hogging the spotlight. But at the same time, being a warlock is so tactically interesting.
Right.
So I'm sort of torn where I feel bad soaking up all the spotlight, but at the same time, it's so much fun doing stuff with all these different tactical interactions with a warlock, and the slaughterhouser is really incidental.
Right. Well, I mean, I think a lot of classes have that. There's some classes that are a bit more straightforward than others in what they do in combat. So they're like Nick's Archer is not that tactically interesting. It's move and shoot, or stand still and really shoot a lot.
Yeah.
But it's effective.
But it's monstrously effective, actually,
right.
Particularly against low armor targets. Mm-hmm. Especially against, like, high defense low armor targets, because he always fucking hits.
Well, he's hyper accurate and shoots a lot, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, but that leaves a lot, like, if you actually have it so that Force servers don't completely dominate everything, dominate things, it's remains a good universe to do a game in, I think.
Oh yeah, excellent. And there are aspects of Star Wars that I really enjoy. Just aesthetically, I really enjoy that it's a what's the word I'm looking for? That it feels used and lived in for thousands of years. Like there's chips on the paint, like
yeah, sure, yep.
No one's like breathlessly coming up with ridiculous psychobabble, which is fun in its own way. But I like that Star Wars is like, oh yeah, just kick the hyperdrive.
Right. Oh sure.
Interstellar space travel is treated like your crappy old car.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The only complaint that you can really have about the Star Wars tech, honestly, is that it seems a bit odd that it doesn't progress very much over time.
Yeah.
Over long periods of time.
Which I think is basically just comes down to they hit a plateau, and further advancement is really fucking hard and requires it, like, because we didn't advance all that significantly over the 1,000 years, so.
I would disagree with that. I mean, technology has been advancing increasingly rapidly over time.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Thinking back on it, yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah, you go for
just trying to qualify my own statement. It's like, no, I was clearly wrong.
I mean, as an example, you look at back to 1908 and see where the Wright brothers were with the plane.
No, I'm not talking about the modern age. But I'm talking about from.
Oh, sure. There's a huge
500 BC to 500 AD, and then
sure.
I'm like. You know what? There are actually some pretty significant advances in metallurgy during that.
Yep.
I mean, we lost some of them, but we got them back pretty quick.
Right, and that's the thing, is there's no explained Dark Age for Star Wars universe, which would explain a lot of it. Like, a great example of that would be the Battletech universe.
Yeah.
Where the technology advanced to a very high level and then fell off a cliff because
everyone was busy blowing each other up.
and we're directly blowing up anything resembling technology centers, because it was a tactical advantage to deny your opponents their scientists and stuff, and they literally nuked themselves scientifically into the Stone Age, not quite the Stone Age,
to be perfectly honest, I'm like I look at that as like, yes, this is a perfectly valid strategy I would have employed in their position. And I am impressed that the BattleTech universe managed to look at what they were doing and go, holy shit, we need to stop and put some rules on this.
Yes. And everyone said, "Oh God, what have we done?"
Yes.
And put rules on certain things because they real well, and part of it was looking at things from a strategic standpoint. Was going, wow, if we keep blowing up jump ships, we will no longer be able to travel interstellar space, and we'll be all locked on our own little planets and be unable to contact each other.
Which will mean billions of deaths because a lot of those planets aren't self-sustaining.
Right. And it's like, oh God. Even ignoring that, it cripples the ability to cripples things from a military standpoint.
Yeah.
Like even ignoring the all these sort of civilian effects, it's like even if you just look at it from a military standpoint, a lot of the rules they put in make a lot of goddamn sense.
Right. Like don't blow up manufacturing centers because, well, we need those, and we kind of blew up the people that knew how to do that.
Right, but the really interesting thing is that when the books start up, they're coming out of the Dark Age, and you can see them reestablishing technology and learning new stuff.
Yeah, and
fairly rapidly, because that is the way things work once you get to a certain point technologically, and have an actual. Once they start redeveloping an academic, sort of not academic, but an academic base.
No, there's definitely an academic one too, because one of the big points during the early part of the BattleTech, the written BattleTech universe, where the story starts, is Davion putting together that whole Institute of Technology thing.
Yeah, NAIS. Yeah, the New Apple Institute of Technology. Of science, sorry.
Like basically just throwing money at scientific auteurs.
Because this will it gives him a political advantage, and he's a Renaissance man.
To fucking do.
Right. Well, that's because Hans Davion is a Renaissance man right at the beginning of the Renaissance. He's like,
yes,
he figures that out, and to a lot of the other leaders' credits, they sort of all realize,
hey, this makes a lot of sense.
He's got a good
idea.
idea.
Also, do the same thing.
Or they try to think of ways to subvert his abilities without destroying the intent behind them. Basically, by trying to take it for themselves, which is fine, as long as someone's doing it. It's good for everybody effectively. And meanwhile, Comstar, being religious fanatics, are trying to undermine all of this because they're religious fanatics and are the anti-Foundation.
Yes, I am so glad you explained them that way, because that really put them into context.
It was a sudden realization for me. It's like, wow, they are literally the anti-Foundation.
Yes.
To the point that they're at the center of the galaxy, of the known galaxy, as opposed to the fringe.
Yeah.
Which I thought it's just like, wow. I wonder if that was intentional. I kind of half think it is, but I'll never be sure because I don't know. I'll never get a chance to ask.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. It's like, wow, it's so perfect. As you can tell, I really do like the BattleTech universe, despite its other. It does have some like none of the BattleTech novels are what I like to call works of art. They're entertaining reads a lot. Some of them are entertaining reads.
Yeah. But they're not necessarily good.
Yeah, they're fun fluff reading, not like serious fiction. They're good yarns.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never say Michael Stackpole is a great writer, but he knows how to tell an entertaining story. He knows how to frame. He's not great at dialogue.
I just wish every mech didn't explode in a minor nuclear explosion.
Yeah, and I wish he wasn't quite so fond of, how to phrase it, Homeric epithets. Because almost everybody has like an epithet describing them, or and like he uses the same thing to describe they fire the ruby red laser. That phrase is used all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And he's got certain sort of little phrases that he attaches to everything of the same type, which in an oral storytelling tradition makes fucking sense, but in written word it gets cumbersome.
Yes.
But I've always had sort of taken sort of perverse glee and sort of mentally imagining Stackpole's BattleTech novels as basically being an oral tradition written directly copied down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
which I think is kind of fun. It doesn't make a lot of sense in the BattleTech universe because they are literate,
Because they do have fucking writing.
but it's fun. And they're coming out of a dark age, so what the hell? Why not? But yeah, again, as I've said before, I do recommend reading at least the Warrior trilogy. God, it's Warrior on Guard, Warrior something or other. I forget the second one, and the Warrior Riposte is the last one. I think I forget. Oh God, my problem is my copies of them are on loan to somebody, and I don't have them. I don't know. I don't remember who I loaned them to.
Oh well.
Yeah, but yeah, and the thing is that back to Star Wars, they don't really have anything like that where they explain why technology is stagnated. It just did.
Yeah.
And that's actually, from a standpoint of just doing, a space opera instead of movies and such, you don't need to do that. And it's one of my favorite things about Star Wars. They don't try to explain the technology. It just is. It's a thing. It's there.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not trying to do, like, pure hard science fiction, that's fine. You don't need to. It's space opera. You don't need to explain the technology. Especially since for most people in Star Wars,
Just kick it. It works. Yeah.
Even if you look at people modern today, most people don't understand how a computer works. They just know it does. And for most people in their
microwave,
right.
Yeah.
And for most people in their day-to-day lives, they don't need to know that, and so they don't. And so I understand why it's not. And for certain types of storytelling, that works fine. If you're trying to do something that's being presenting itself as like pure science fiction, the science has to make a bit more sense than Star Wars does. Let's just say that. And there's a lot of examples of science fiction, of stuff that presents itself as science fiction, which makes less sense than Star Wars. Because Star Wars is at least internally consistent.
Some of Star Trek. Let's be honest. I love me some Star Trek, but some of it's just really.
Yeah, I was actually thinking Doctor Who, but.
Oh yeah.
Doctor Who tries to present itself as science fiction, and it's at least as much science fantasy as Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, easily.
I love Doctor Who, but
I was more thinking of the one episode of Voyager where Tom Paris, idiot savant of Voyager, develops a warp drive that allows him to achieve infinite speed, which somehow turns into a salamander. So he kidnaps Janeway and turns her into a salamander. And they have baby salamanders. And then somehow the Doctor makes them not salamanders anymore. The end.
Well, I can tell you exactly how he makes them not salamanders anymore. He bombards them with bursts of 0.52 AMUs of antiproton radiation.
I forgot that was that episode.
Yep.
Oh my god, that episode really is just the giant, biggest pile of ridiculous stupid.
My favorite part about that is the person who wrote that clearly wasn't thinking about what an AMU, 0.52 AMU, well, it's an AMU, so bombarding with small amounts of antiproton radiation. Fine. Do you know what an AMU is? Apparently not. It's an atomic mass unit. So what you're bombarding them with something that is smaller than partial atoms. You're bombarding them with antiquarks. Well done. That's going to accomplish something. Maybe. I don't know.
They're antiquarks.
So you're going to
hitting someone's
obliterate
antiprotons. Would that kind of make them explode with the whole antimatter thing? But whatever.
You'll cause a proton to explode. One.
Yes.
And that will be probably be painful, but it wouldn't cause the entire body to explode. You're annihilating one proton worth of matter. It's
whatever.
Yeah. So yeah. At any rate, I love all of this stuff, obviously, but I love Star Wars, but and I do really love role playing the Star Wars universe. I enjoy it. It's just that it's tricky, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and there hasn't been
unlikely to ever get me to play a Jedi. Well, unlikely, not impossible.
I could see doing it for the right time.
I'm much more interested in playing the bounty hunter or the smuggler or So because there's something about living in a world filled with sort of wacky mysticism, yet having no connection with it.
You see, thinking about it, I'm not sure I want to play a Jedi per se, but I think you could do something really interesting with someone with native force talent who, effectively, was in some downtrodden background, maybe a former slave or something, who effectively stumbles across the Sith code, and but just the code, really, and embraces the sort of the teachings of that, and is effectively a light side Sith,
Yeah.
and being completely confusing to any actual Jedi he runs into.
No, that could be really cool. Like his passion is
His passions are his
his
strength.
passion is his Tatooine nesting dolls.
Well, no, it's not even that. His passions are like he's truly passionate about.
He's a bon vivant.
Well, it's not just that. Like his passion is, you're going full on chaotic good. His passion is, social justice. Justice for the downtrodden. Making the world a better place, living life to the fullest. Sort of classic sort of swashbucklery.
Yeah.
You
Space Errol Flynn.
Yeah, exactly. Without the Nazi overtones.
Okay, fair enough. I was going to argue that, but I was like, no, fair enough.
So, I think that could be really interesting and a lot of fun. That would be like someone who's basically, stumbled across Sith teaching, finds a lightsaber, and is effectively a Jedi, but is clearly not.
Right.
And it's not it's not even like a gray Jedi or someone who's like embracing but it's like I think that'd be a lot of fun and really interesting. But it would take the problem is you need a game master who can really roll with that. It isn't tied to if that was explained to me as a game master, I'd totally roll with it. Despite my natural inclination to try to stick closely to sort of the way the light side and dark side are presented and the Jedi, the way the light side is sort of implied to be presented in Star Wars.
Right.
Which is not necessarily exactly how it's presented or how if you pay attention, you can interpret it as. But what the Jedi are sort of intended to have been, I guess, is the way I...
Right.
But, because, it's sort of tricky to think, because as Star Wars is presented, it's hard to see how you could, if you stick with the way it's presented, how someone who follows the Sith code would be light side, as it's presented, not as it's actually, not if you think about it.
Right.
And that's sort of my natural inclination would be to go with that. But presented in the right way, I think it'd be really kind of fun and awesome. And it would diverge very quickly from sort of the traditional Star Wars universe, but that's not inherently a bad thing, as long as you get the feel right.
Yeah, and Star Wars universe is... Well, until Lucas started intertwining everything and having, fucking Chewbacca show up in, a bar because Obi-Wan happened to be there in the prequels, and, yeah. Star Wars universe used to feel really big, and there was room for that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a big universe, but the thing I'm sort of feel about it is what I'm going for is it's a big cinematic universe with big damn heroes.
Yes,
and that's sort of what the Star Wars games I've played in have been a mixed bag. Some of them have gotten that feel right, and some of them have sort of tried desperately to make the players feel sort of like cogs in a machine. And sort of trying to go sort of, smaller than that. Because it's we don't want the players to overshadow the cast of the movies. So my reaction is, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Why can't they be as big? Why can't I be as big damn as hero as Luke? This is our story, goddammit. Luke's got his own story.
Sure, we don't blow up the Death Star, but we could say destroy the legion of experimental murder bots they're going to unleash on the bowels of Coruscant.
I mean, come on. How many super weapons? I mean, the Emperor. You think the Empire's going to be settled with one super weapon? I mean, we're talking about the fucking Galactic Empire here.
Of course they have more super weapons. It's just the way Galactic Empires work.
I mean, it doesn't have to be super weapons. I mean, there's just so many different, there's so many different ways you can be big damn heroes in a universe that goddamn big. You don't have to be tied directly to the official rebellion.
Like the game we did with the Tuesday crew.
Right.
We hardly at all dealt with the rebellion, but we got to be some pretty big damn heroes sometimes.
Oh, but we interacted with the rebellion, and that worked well too. Because we were doing some other stuff that was important.
We want you to assassinate this morph. Wouldn't it be better if he defected? How are you going to do that? We're awesome. Of course he's going to defect.
Because we're going to frame him. See, the problem, Jasenia, is that you think like a commando, not a crook. That's one of my favorite parts of play Nail 'em.
That was really good.
Just think,
Hey
like,
guys, listen now. Hear me out. What if we sneak into the armory and slap explosives everywhere? And Ken Rocco, no, just hear me out. I think it's a really good idea. Really?
the first time Nail 'em ever said, "Can Rocco, your explosive plan is a good plan."
Because he always had an explosive plan.
Well, yes, you were obsessed with explosives, and that's fine.
The Wookiee demolitionist.
And part of my job as Nail 'em was to talk you down from some of those because.
Especially seeing as the assassin droid and the mechanic always thought they were a good idea.
Well, again, we have an assassin droid, although he was a little bit flashier than. Well, again, he's an assassin. He's an assassin model.
He's an assassin droid. Like he was an assassin droid. Let's face facts. Like assassin droids are pretty fucking flashy. IG-88.
Fair point. Fair point. Fair point. All right,
he can just be an assassin droid. It's okay. They're flashy and kick-ass and awesome.
But like like looking at things like it's like that group was really interesting. Just the sort of because we had and Hannah's character wasn't always on board with your explosive ideas.
That's true.
Because she was she was probably the nicest character in the group.
Oh, she was. Yeah, she was fucking Kaylee with head tails. Is what she was.
Yeah, pretty much. So she was our Twi'lek engineer, and she was a sweetheart and a wonderful character. I mean, you were basically Dave Lister as a Wookiee.
Yeah, totally unintentional. But
I know. with a penchant for explosives.
Yeah, he was totally Dave Lister, but as a Wookiee. And when was it Will that came to that realization?
Yes, it was Will.
Yeah, I totally embraced it after that.
Yeah, I know, and it worked brilliantly. Oh God, we had Will, our totally not actually a gray side Jedi, but a gray side Jedi.
Yeah,
but he was not actually a Jedi. He was part of some other order, which he found fluff on somewhere, and I was like, okay,
sure, whatever.
The recently reactivated Federation assassin droid in Leland's character, who was programmed to hunt Jedi, and there weren't any anymore. It's like, wow. And the Empire has people who use Sith Force powers, and I've been programmed to hunt them, and they seem like dicks.
All right, let's do it.
And you people actually set me free and didn't put a restraining bolt on me. That was largely because Dalen was abjectly terrified of trying to, but that's all right.
We didn't have any restraining bolts at the time.
We didn't have any at the time. He agreed to be helpful and not kill us. And then once we were in a position where we could have gotten them, Dalen was abjectly terrified of even thinking about it. Because Naylam was a crook, not a fighter.
Right.
I mean, he was a really good shot because.
And to be fair, Kenny at that point had come to the conclusion that having an unleashed assassin droid was fun.
Oh God!
We're not getting unshackled AI with a chain gun. Fuck yeah!
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And then we had Naylam, who was a giant ball of fun to play. Honestly, I really enjoyed him because he was sort of Sans. He's like you at first think you're like, oh, he's kind of like Han Solo, and you're like, no, he really isn't.
No, he's.
As I
want to say more of a coward, but that's not true at all because Naylam, as terrified as Naylam was, he never backed down when it was necessary.
Oh, Naylam wasn't a coward; he was just a realist.
Yeah, and he was. Naylam was Han Solo with more. Naylam was Han Solo with a lot more low cunning and a lot less bravado.
Oh, well, no, Hannah actually described it best. He's a blend of Mickey Bricks and Malcolm Reynolds.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a con artist.
He's a con artist and a pirate. Yes.
Yeah. More smuggler than pirate, but yeah. He's less fond of stealing stuff from people. Well, physically. Convincing them to give him their stuff is what he likes doing.
It's another matter entirely.
Yes. That's fair game. I'm not threatening you. I'm just, if you're not smart enough to figure out that you shouldn't be giving me your money, then you don't deserve to have it. But that led to, like, during that whole operation we were bugging the Imperial Admiral's thing. The rebels basically hired us to.
Yeah.
This is the one where you came up with the explosives plan, and like my plan for like bugging the office and all this stuff was just so. Like, I was like, it was this wonderful moment. It was like, okay, I surreptitiously drop an open comlink on the ground when I get sort of asked out of the office when he's being like on the phone when the Admiral's on the phone with them off. And as I was going in, I just disguised as a Celestin technician because my character's a Celestin. And my favorite moment from that was Chris immediately picked up on the right way to handle that. We were like on comms with Chiseni, and she's like, "Damn, that's too bad. It's too bad we couldn't bug the office. Oh, just tune into frequency 4200. Why? I dropped an open conflict in there. Why didn't I think of that? That's because Chiseni, you think like a commando, and I think like a crook. Cheap and simple is my way of life."
Cheap and cheerful.
Well, yeah. Cheerful, less, more like, okay, well...
You had Kenny for all the cheerfulness.
Yeah, well, Nalen wasn't not cheerful. There was a lot of times that he was cheerful. Usually when he was...
immediately upon getting paid.
As a matter of fact, yes. But the other really fun thing about that game was... really interesting thing about the game is watching Will completely not get Nalem's character.
Yeah.
For the longest time. Because he constantly assumed that like Nalem was in it for the money, which he kind of was. But it wasn't about being rich.
That was very much the persona that you.
Well, of course, that's the game I taught.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, but it wasn't so much about getting the money because of wanting the money. The money was a way of keeping score. The whole thing was a giant game for him that he was effectively playing against the Empire, whom he hated. He rarely rooked, like, your average citizen out of stuff, because that's, A, boring, and...
B, kind of a dick move.
Yeah. If he can like, con like an imperial officer, sure, hell, that'll be awesome. The higher rank they are, the better it is. And that's why the operation where we basically went to get them off after we screwed them over with the planted info.
Right.
Was an operation he had no desire to actually do because it was a suicide mission as far as he was concerned. But the actual goal he was entirely in favor of.
Yeah. Well, I'd really rather do it with you guys. But there is someone else we could talk to. It's just they're a little more mercenary than you.
Wait, more mercenary than us?
Who could this possibly be? And then Chris drops the names of like all of our friggin' Star Wars Galaxies characters.
Yeah, yours. Yeah, right. But that wasn't the important bit. It was the whole sort of people she couldn't trust that were more mercenary than we were and less trustworthy.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, I actually kind of like Jasenia as a person. I kind of respect her. That's gonna get her killed.
Yeah.
Fuck. And it's also gonna mean that it could break this rebel cell, and I'm in favor of the rebellion, in theory.
Well, Jasenia, really got under Kenny's skin, also.
Oh, sure.
She's really mad at his fur.
But the thing about that, the really interesting thing about it was, Nalem hated her guts at first. But quickly realized that, he actually, I'm not sure exactly what it was that made me decide that that Nalem liked her, and thought she was okay, she's okay in my book, and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was either, because
it happened, and I remember deciding that. I just remember it might have been sort of a combination of the fact that she didn't try to strong arm us, rarely tried to guilt us into anything, and was completely utter. Part of it was also she was very quick to recognize what we were good at,
Yeah.
and was like, and also the fact that it didn't hurt that she was fighting against the Empire. As I said, Nalem hates the Empire for a lot of reasons.
Partially because they stole your car. Or
That was
shit.
that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That did not help. Also, remember he's an alien, and in
The Empire was not good about.
No,
aliens.
I mean it was Celestin, so it could have been worse. It's not like he's a Twi'lek or anything.
Yeah. Or Wookiee.
Yeah, or God help me, a Wookiee. Yeah.
Yeah. Kenny really was in a whole lot of denial about that. The drugs helped.
But the whole I mean the way the Empire the way the Empire treats Wookiees treated Wookiees, and the whole was, and some Twi'leks, and the Nalem was offended by the concept of slavery. That was just no,
Right.
no, 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 no. And that's a sort of common theme in a lot of characters I play, admittedly. But
The what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, the whole thing about Empire and Wookiees, the thing is, when you read some of the EU stuff about Wookiees and Trandoshans, the Wookiees have had largely spent the past couple of thousand years dicking over the Trandoshans politically.
sure,
Because the Trandoshans are like, aha, now it's our turn to dick you over, and they took it way too far. It's one thing to be disenfranchised. It's another thing to actively hunt your oppressors for sport and gleefully sell them into slavery to human supremacists.
right.
Go ahead, make them get the shit jobs and not have any political power for a while. But seriously, guys, just dial it back a bit.
Yeah. Oh God, but yeah, that's the as I said, there's a lot of really interesting stuff you can do, but that campaign was a little bit it started out a bit too much in the scummy side of Star Wars for my personal tastes.
I can understand that.
But
That's
Chris
also the part of that's Chris's wheelhouse, honestly.
It is, but
it's totally Chris's wheelhouse, and it's honestly the part of Star Wars I'm most interested in, because it's the part that's hinted at but covered the least in the official media.
Sure, but I think Chris actually did a really good job at using that as a sort of where we were starting and moving things in different ways than it looked like it might be at first.
Yeah, no, he did a good job of using it as a starting point to move us very organically towards being big damn heroes.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just the big damn heroes thing. It's Chris fairly quickly, and this is not a fault of it. He embraced sort of the more cinematic aspects of Star Wars.
Yes,
and that's partly because Chris. That's one of the things Chris likes about Star Wars, and what most people like about Star Wars is that it is a very cinematic, not realistic universe.
Right.
Which is fine. It's a space opera. It doesn't have to be.
Things are ruled by the rule of cool.
Right. And the other thing is that you can have gritty in space opera, but it has to be. You can have grim and gritty, but there has to be sparkle in there somewhere.
You can have grim and gritty, but it's got to be more like a Chow Yun-Fat movie as opposed to a Christopher Nolan movie.
Well, yeah, it's got to have heart. That's the thing. And that's the thing. That's my problem with Nolan's Batman movies. Is he gets almost everything right about Batman, but
yes,
the heart.
But the heart. And here's the thing, the second Batman movie is great. His second Batman movie is great. I love it. Mm-hmm. It does a great job of making the Joker an excellent foil for him, mm-hmm, despite the unpleasant political undertones involved.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And the third, the first one is a good starting point. the second one is a great story, and the third one really falls flat because that's where he completely loses Batman.
Yeah.
For me, like he's not. You're right. He doesn't have a heart. He loses Batman's heart there.
Batman never had the heart though in any of the movies. He's left Batman's compassionate home the entire time.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I really can't see Christian Bale's Batman sitting down with an out of control psychic until she has an aneurysm.
Yeah, that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't see him doing that with like Ace or like having that sympathy, that sort of sad sympathy for like Clayface or Mr. Freeze.
Right.
That always colored all of their interactions.
Exactly. And that's fine. And I do
because
like
Bruce fucking Timm is a legend, is what I'm gonna say.
Well, it's not just that. That's right through a lot of the Batman. It depends on the writer, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I'm not knocking Nolan as a director at all because Nolan's a great director, fantastic. And
he's great, but the man does have a tendency to lose the human element a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his movies tend to be a bit bleak, and that's fine. I
don't even mind that they're bleak.
No.
It's just he's.
I'm not saying that
his
as a negative.
movies don't have a lot of emotional core, but that's okay because everything else is fucking flawless.
Sure, but that's the thing is the Batman movies, especially specifically the second one, mostly the first one, and I have not seen the last one yet. I gotta watch it at some point. I didn't get around to it.
It's a good effort, but I if the bar wasn't set so high by the other two, I'd probably like it more than I do.
Fair enough. But my point being, though, is I thought they were good movies. There are things, there are nits I would pick, and if it wasn't Batman, I would be less... Basically, the problem is, for me, is that it's taking an established character and doing something with it I personally didn't like. I'm not faulting the actual writing or the...
Okay.
Or the direction or anything like that. If it was just some character he'd made up out of whole cloth, I would have been completely fine with it. Honestly, I think. I can't speak to the third movie, but Batman has certain. The problem with doing stories with established characters in established universes is the characters have certain weight behind them and certain expectations and certain history with them. So if you're telling a different story with them and changing the character significantly, you have to do it really well, and you have to do certain things really well. And Nolan did a good job with the first two movies that way, with that. Which is why I don't object to them too much, although I'm not huge fans of them. I like them. The only reason I haven't watched the third one is I just haven't gotten around to it.
Right.
But, and one of the reasons everything I've heard about Man of Steel is so objectionable to me.
Yeah, no, I can guarantee that you'll hate Man of Steel. You probably won't hate it as much as you think you do from hearing me rant about it, but you're going to hate Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. And I still think you should watch it so that... and
as I said, I will watch it the second
about it.
I said I will watch it as soon as it's easy for me to do so. It is still not on... Last I checked, it's still not on Netflix right now, so I'm safe.
Yeah, what was I looking for? Mentally.
I don't know.
I had a point and I completely lost it, so just ignore me.
Fair enough. But yeah, I like... so, yeah. Long story short, DC movies.
Yeah. Hey, did you see the new trailer for Batman vs. Superman? It's got Doomsday in it, because that can't go wrong.
Also, is Jesse Eisenberg actually playing the... Is Jesse Eisenberg playing the Joker? Because he's clearly not playing Lex Luthor.
I know. There are so many... I was willing to give Jesse Eisenberg the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, sure. I think he's actually a fine actor. And the first trailer, I thought his diction and some of his choices was a bit odd from what I was seeing, but,
But, sweet zombie Chris, there are so many better choices to be Lex Luthor. Bryan Cranston leaps to mind, but I could also see, Benedict Cumberbatch, Idris Elba, Ron Perlman, any of them I could see doing an excellent fucking Joker. like
The
almost
problem,
without effort.
Luther, not Joker.
Hmm?
Eric. You said
What was-
Joker.
I said Joker.
Yes,
I
you
meant to say
did.
Luther.
The problem with a lot of them is they're all fine actors. They're all too old for the proper relationship to be. The problem is that Luther and Superman should be roughly the same age.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying there.
And this is a young Superman. And so Luther shouldn't be too old. I like Eisenberg. I don't have a problem with Eisenberg. It's just in theory, but Cranston. As much as I think Cranston would be a fantastic Lex Luthor, he's a little too old for it right now, I think. But it's Bryan Cranston, so he probably could pull it off.
Yeah, he could probably pull it off because the man's fucking magic.
Yeah. But like the inclusion of Doomsday, I'm just looking like, no, fuck no.
You could have.
Why fucking Doomsday? Hey,
You know what? If you're gonna do the
Doomsday.
whole do Zod thing, do fucking Bizarro instead.
Well, that's far too silly for the DC boys, Eric. You got to go grim and gritty, and Doomsday was
Doomsday's not silly at all.
No, Doomsday's not silly. Doomsday's a terrible character and villain because he's not a character. He's not even an interesting force of nature. He's just awful. The Death of Superman comic book is one of the worst I've ever read. It's
But
awful.
Doomsday looked cool to 14-year-old Eric.
Yes, and do you know what the end result of the conflict between Doomsday and Superman is? They punch each other a lot. Over and over and over again. Until one of them basically to see
one
who's
of
going
them
to fall
dies.
down first. And it turns out they fall down simultaneously. It's like the fight between Rocky and Apollo Creed, except without any actual without the actual emotional
Without the emotion involved, or the build-up, or the
goddamn the whole thing, the whole point about the movie, which is that Rocky's underdog status.
yeah.
By the way, the first Rocky movie is a really fucking good movie. Which blows my mind, but it is.
It is. There's a reason why it spawned 10,000 sequels, including one where Rocky punched the Soviet Union to death.
Well, Rocky ended the Cold War. Honestly, I as bad as that movie is, I still like it. It's terrible. It's a terrible
I must
movie.
break you.
I like Dolph Lundgren in that. Dolph Lundgren is not a good actor, but I've seen very few movies in which I didn't at least enjoy him, despite the fact he's not an actor.
Which Rocky was that? Was that like 4,
That's 4.
5,
That's 4.
19? Was
That's
4?
4.
Yeah, I liked 4.
4 is fun.
4 is a lot of fun, but it's also a giant ball of stupid.
Oh God, yes. Rocky 1 is a really good movie. Rocky 2 is half a good movie. Rocky 3 is hilarious. But there's an interesting story in there. The Rocky 3, the really interesting thing about Rocky 3, I can't believe we're talking about Rocky here, but I'm going to. The interesting thing about Rocky 3 is looking at, the interesting thing about the story there is seeing how Rocky is, the legend, how he's built up, the character Rocky in the movie is built up, and how basically, his trainer Mickey knows that Rocky is not the great champion, and has basically been feeding him a series of weaker opponents just to keep him on the top as long as possible, and is making sure he dodges the actual real threat in Clubber Lang, the guy who was going to beat him. Not like he can beat him, because no, as things stand, Rocky has no chance against Clubber Lang, and that turns out to be the case. There's an actual sort of interesting sort of the mythology, looking at how a media mythology makes a mythology out around an actual athletic star,
Right.
especially if there's this great underdog story behind them, and how they build them up, and then watching as it all falls down because how carefully his story has been crafted by the people around him, and then basically him overcoming this and building himself back up. There's an actual sort of real story in there, despite the remarkable silliness of a lot of the movie. I mean, he has an exhibition match at the start of the movie with Hulk Hogan.
I forgot about that.
The boxer versus professional wrestler exhibition match, which is fucking hilarious.
Well, it's just like in Real Steel, which is pretty much Rocky with robots, minus anything that made Rocky good. But it's clearly what they're trying to do.
Oh God! And Rocky Five. From I've not seen Rocky Five. That was Rocky Four was the last one I saw. Everything I've heard about Rocky Five is it was
Was there a
awful.
Rocky 5?
Oh, there was Rocky Five, and there was Rocky Balboa, the sixth one.
I don't remember those movies existing.
From what I understand, Rocky. From everything I've heard, Rocky Five is awful. Rocky Balboa is a decent movie, though Stallone is too old to be playing a fighter in it.
Right.
And recently, what just came out is a movie called Creed, which
right,
is
right,
a story about Apollo Creed's legitimate son. And apparently, and Rocky ends up mentoring him. Apparently,
yeah.
And from everything I've heard, the movie's amazing.
Of what's his fuck? Whose name I can't remember. I can't remember the character's name.
I forget.
But yeah, no, and
everything I've heard is it's a great movie.
Yeah, that has a lot of potential.
I
haven't seen it. I probably won't see it till it's out in video.
Oh, I'm gonna wait till I can watch it on my computer. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have no intention of seeing it in the theaters, but I want to see it, and I will wait for it. I will want it to come out on Netflix so I can watch it legally, so they get their appropriate, so that money is going to the people who made the movie, etc., as opposed to doing it illegally and no, I don't do that unless I really
unless you don't have a choice,
and I really don't care.
Yeah.
But if I have no choice or I really fucking don't care, I care just enough to isolate my curiosity and want to spend the effort. Man of Steel has fallen. It's so far down on my list that it's gone beyond. It's done from the I don't care part to the point that it's more effort than it's worth to me to acquire it in a non-legal manner. Not that I would ever do that. No, never.
No, that would be wrong. That would be wrong.
And it would
be wrong.
Technically speaking, it would be wrong. But no.
And that's why I totally have not watched any of the Macross series except for the first one. Because it would be wrong to watch a fan dub on a website.
Yeah.
And therefore denying Harmony Gold their rightful loot in their dickishness. By the way, I really like Macross Frontier.
Cool. I'm glad. That's like, if I could find a way to watch Space Battleship Yamato without paying $1 dollars per DVD.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh god, if it was on Crunchyroll, I would watch it there.
Yeah.
It's not. Because apparently, fuck me.
Yeah, and it's not like I don't actually go and get subscriptions to legitimate streaming sites for this shit. I have a subscription to Crunchyroll.
Of course.
I don't really need one at all, but I have one because I want to support
yes, absolutely.
Streaming.
Absolutely. I agree completely. But yeah, oh god, I've as I decided, I've been rewatching Yamato while doing other stuff. It's been my thing of choice to do while I'm doing crafting in Star Trek Online.
Right.
While I'm doing it, I'll throw up Yamato so that during the dead periods I can have something to watch. And I've been watching it and going, God damn, I love this show. every then I'm like, oh god. I love Space Battleship Yamato 2199 so much. Oh my god.
The one with the Gamelon robot and analyzer is still just...
Oh god.
Still it makes me weep man tears.
Well, the final episode is an emotionally moving... At the ending of the series is emotionally moving.
I need to rewatch that series.
Yeah.
After I finish One Punch Man.
Yeah, well, they've only got
episode 4 or 5 right now.
Yeah, they're on episode 10 right now. There are 2 more episodes and some OVAs.
Okay.
There will be 2 more. They're doing a 12. It's Madhouse, so it's a 12-episode season.
12 episode, then some OVAs. That's their usual
right,
way.
and they will almost.
And I didn't realize it was Madhouse, but I probably could have figured it out by the fucking gorgeous animation.
Yep.
Holy crap! I know there's CG in there, but Madhouse is so good at integrating it that I can't tell.
Oh, One Punch Man. That's a fun. It's a surprisingly good show.
It's so much fun.
It's really interesting watching how they deconstruct. It's a complete deconstruction of the shonen genre.
Yeah.
And superheroes.
I love the bit where where they go to the House of Evolution. It's and they'll have to fight through each of these 8 trapped floors. Huh? So that's the House of Evolution, huh? Yup. Boom! Why'd you blow it up? Well, I figured we'd have to go in the basement anyway. Might as well just skip all the other shit. Went through all the effort, though. Don't you think it's kind of mean?
The thing I love about I'm really enjoying about One Punch Man is it's like in almost any other like shonen anime, Genos would be the protagonist,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
not the main character's sidekick.
Which is what's so great, like...
But he's a fascinating character as the show goes on. Wow. It's through his eyes you actually see exactly what Saitama is as a hero. And it's like...
Which no one else acknowledges, because Saitama's just sort of, like, so laid back and unassuming. Has such a silly costume.
Well, that's the thing, is it's not even that silly a costume compared to most superhero costumes. He's got a traditional Western superhero costume.
Yeah, you're right. It's just not very...
It's such a stark contrast.
It's not at all flashy.
It's a complete stark contrast to every other character in the series.
Yes.
Because it's this classic Western superhero in a Japanese superhero anime, which has all this flashy cybernetics and stuff that's very Japanese themed. And there's Saitama in his jumpsuit and cape in yellow and white.
Yep. With his red gloves and boots.
Yep. I like his costume. It's a classic superhero costume.
I don't like the color choice, but then again, I'm not a big fan of those colors in general.
That's
entirely my bag. And I
think it would depend on, for me, weirdly, it would depend on the hero's power set.
I can totally get that.
For a hero who is either fire or like solar themed, it makes perfect fucking sense. It works perfectly. Like that costume on someone for someone who has fire powers would work.
Yeah.
For someone who was had solar blasts and stuff.
Yeah, that makes or had like solar powers or something.
Right, exactly. But on someone who is super strength, speed, and agility, and that's it. Oh, and near invulnerability, and basic invulnerability.
Yeah.
And when I say super speed, or super strength,
he's like Goku's Super Saiyan 5 levels here.
We're talking like Silver Age level Superman, except without any restraints because Japan. Well, he has restraints.
No, I just remembered the bit where he's fighting the giant friggin' monster at the bottom of the House of Evolution, and he realized he got the days mixed up, and today was the sale day at the at the supermarket. And that's what makes him end the fight so he can go shopping.
Well, it's when Genos points out that, the store's still open. If we hurry, we can get there in time. Oh, well then, punch dead.
Well, all right then. Skaboom!
But the thing about Saitama that I love, it's this wonderful, his characters has got this wonderful dichotomy of desperately wanting to find something that's actually a challenge for him, but also genuinely wants to be a hero and save people.
Yeah. And totally underplaying it at every opportunity.
Well, that's the thing is
I'm just a hero for fun. That's his line. That's how he opens every
But that's the thing is he finds saving people fun, is the thing.
Yeah.
But also, it's very clear that he's doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Mm.
Especially in the flashback to his, before he had powers.
Yeah, with the crab monster, which is hilarious.
Yes. Have you gotten the reveal about how he explained how he got his powers?
Oh, about like
Don't say anything.
Yeah. Huh?
Don't explain it, but
yeah. And then I did these things and those things and these things. That's just living cheaply, Saitama.
Oh my god, Sensei.
Yeah, Genos' reaction to everything about him is hilarious.
Genos is a wonderful character. He really is. He's
such a joy to watch because he's so like beautifully animated and has such creative and flashy attacks.
Yeah, well, the other thing about him is he's got this dichotomy of basically, being all about overwhelming firepower and all stuff, but he earnestly wants to be a hero.
Yes.
And it's entirely because his original motivation was to avenge the death of his brother. and his family and stuff. But after meeting Saitama, it's shifted to I want to be the best damn hero I can be.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, wow. Which is, as an aside, is an interesting contrast to a lot of the other S-Class heroes.
Yeah.
Whom you meet as the show goes on. Some of them are,
Are jerks?
oh, yes.
Not surprised.
Yeah. It is a brilliant deconstruction and send-up of both shonen anime and Western comics.
The friggin' cyborg gorilla, where they've got him pinned down, and Genos is interrogating him. You will never defeat me. I am the the third most powerful member of the House of Evolution, and you can never defeat Beast King at your current power level. Oh, you mean this guy? Saitama holds up a severed eyeball. Don't hurt me. I'll tell you everything you want to know. What happened to your robot voice? I was just trying to sound cool.
I love the cyborg gorilla. I loved him. He was great. I think he's one of the few bad guys who survives.
Yes. And is hilarious. He's great. He made me miss playing Kenny or Tommy Kong. Tommy Kong was awesome.
Oh my god! At any rate,
I think he
guys,
got on everyone else's nerves, but I really enjoyed playing him.
Well, what he was a jammer in a group mostly of people who were mostly dragons.
Yeah,
Well, he's an ex-jammer, technically speaking.
he's an ex-jammer.
But a lot of his attitudes are still colored by the jammers.
Yes. Why are you hanging out with this jammer? Why does everyone keep on saying that? Boom! Woo! Oh, that's why.
Oh god. Well, we've run a bit long.
Yeah, we
At this
have.
point. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. We normally say time at the end of each episode for viewer questions. We've run long, so we're not going to be able to answer any tonight.
That's mostly just us shooting the shit anyway.
Yeah, fair point. I don't think we actually didn't get any this week, so I don't really have any to answer. We might have an older one that I've got archived somewhere, but we've run long, and we really should wrap things up here. But if you do have questions you'd like us to answer in the show, please do send them to us. We love getting email and questions and such, and shoot them to us. We love getting that stuff. So if you got them, email them to us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com. surlygrognards@yahoo.com. Or you can post them to us on our forums, which you can find at mechagm.forumer.com. Lastly, if you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to post a comment there, and we'll try to work stuff into the show, or I'll try to get back to you on YouTube, or what have you, any of those things. Additionally, if you've got feedback for us, constructive criticism...
Holy crap, you actually look at the YouTube comments? I'm so used to YouTube comments being a cesspool of stupidity.
We don't get very many of them, and they're just from reviewers, so...
Oh, okay, cool.
So far, at least. At any rate, oh, God, where was I going? Oh, right, yeah. So if you got feedback for us, constructive criticism, ways we can make the show better, things we're doing right, things we're doing wrong, etc., let us know. We really appreciate knowing that stuff so we can make the show better and hopefully, make the show better. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, make the show better.
And,
better show is good.
If you got show topic suggestions, we love those too. We love those
Holy
to
crap,
pieces.
do we love those.
Therefore, if we get those, we won't spend an entire hour and a half rambling about Star Wars.
Or One Punch Man, or whatever random thing pops into
Now,
our
admittedly,
heads.
it's fun, but I do like having actual topics from week to week.
Yeah. Besides, one of these days, you're just going to end up hearing us ramble on about spaghetti or something.
Yeah, that seems unlikely. I mean, I like spaghetti, but I can't talk.
I'm pretty sure we could do a whole episode on spaghetti.
I really doubt that, and I'm not that interested to try.
Depends on how much I drink.
Yeah, I said I'll cut it short, Eric.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But yeah, so please let us know. Same places for the email questions, and so on and so forth. We record the show every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern here on hitbox.tv/mecha-gm. I tweet out when the show's going to go live, so if you want to keep an eye on that, keep an eye on my Twitter. My Twitter handle is @mechagm, and I'll post there when the show's about to go live, or when I'm about to stream anything for that matter. And that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys had fun. Thanks for hanging out if you're the live audience. And we'll see you again if you're listening to this on YouTube. Thanks! Hit like and subscribe. That way you'll know when the new episodes are uploaded.
Yay, technology.
Yeah, indeed. But that's going to do it for this week. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye, humans.